Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me tonight, live and in living color here at the studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's up tonight, Chuck?
I did not go up to New York for this game. I stayed here to just, want to make your life a little bit easier for this beginning of the end, let's say.
With us only 5 games away,
Indeed.
Charlie.
Indeed.
Summer vacation for us, basically. You cannot possibly risk contracting some sort of disease from those rats running around MSG, let alone the actual rodents at the world's most famous train station.
I'm just trying to avoid possibly getting hit by a train at the train station.
It is important. Yeah. Flyers Rangers tonight, and right before we went live, I see that today is the 15-year anniversary of Flyers Rangers to close the 2010 regular season. The shootout to go to the playoffs. Obviously, Flyers win, get the 7 seed. We all know what happens from there. A near historic run to the Stanley Cup final. Tonight's game, stakes a bit different. Flyers already eliminated. The Rangers, we'll get into them in a little bit, but they're like 8 points behind Montreal for the second wild card.
It would take a run of epic proportions and a choke of epic proportions for the Rangers to get that last spot at this point. Yes.
And the Rangers only have like 3 games left, I think, so it's probably not going to happen.
They would have to win out and get some help.
Yeah, and Montreal would have to get kidnapped.
But they do have a reason to play this one tough because if things break their way, they could still make the playoffs. The Flyers, obviously, were eliminated this past weekend. So the Flyers have the, you could say, benefit, I guess, depending on which way you want to look at it. They have the benefit of playing against a team that is a lot more motivated, or at least should be a lot more motivated than they are.
I'm going to start with tonight's lineup, and it is, we saw Charlie basically tweet the lines yesterday from practice, and I can't imagine it's anything different.
I would guess it's this, yeah.
Because this is all they have.
They did send down Rodrigo Alves today. They sent down Aleksei a couple days ago. So they now have 12 healthy forwards, 6 healthy defensemen. They do have 3 goalies.
And they do. Thank goodness for the 3 healthy goalies. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, we saw the word. We talked about it yesterday. Aleksei cleared waivers and he was down. And then, of course, the Flyers tell us today that Abels also sent down as well. So this is what we can get into like some roster stuff and the real maneuvering during post game as well. But I do find it interesting because they are at only 12-6. Do you think this means, like, we know that they're out of call-ups. If there were to be an injury or they were to take somebody out of the lineup, it has to be an emergency.
It has to be an injury. Yes.
So
they could take somebody out of the lineup, but then they only have 11
Then
forwards.
they just have not enough guys. Yeah. So if they do arrive at an emergency situation, kind of think this means, oh yeah, we're going to take a look at somebody else. We saw enough of Abels and Aleksei.
Well, I think they definitely decided they've seen enough of Abels and Aleksei, and the Phantoms still have some games left. They're going to be involved in the playoffs because they were sent down on deadline day, so they still have AHL playoff eligibility. Do I think that this necessarily means that they're going to involve themselves in shenanigans to get somebody up? No, I don't think that's that's not necessarily what it means, where they're going to be like, bring you into the office, Nick Deslauriers, and then Danny's going to come out with a hammer and say you're hurt. No, I don't think that's what's necessarily going to happen. But I do think what this does is it increases the possibility that if someone were to get banged up in these games, they no longer have the like, well, we have Abel, so we got to play him. Now it's, if Owen Tippett bruises his shoulder tonight, then they got to call somebody up, and that gives them a chance to look at someone they might want to look at. So I don't think this is necessarily in anticipation of shenanigans, but it is giving them the option where if someone gets banged up, maybe they could call up a Gurbenkin or somebody.
And it's not so much, I don't expect that either. Even when we kind of suspected some shenanigans earlier this year with Deslauriers, it was like, no, he's actually hurt.
Yeah, he seemed like he was actually injured.
We need, it's him now, and he's not available. We got to call somebody up. So, no, I don't think that. I just wondered, all right, now, in the situation they were in, it has to be one of those guys. if there is an injury because you're out of call-ups.
Right.
Now, with no extra players on the roster, unless, like, I don't know, Rasmus Ristolainen magically gets better, but he's not going to.
Doesn't seem likely.
Yeah, like, that's not going to happen. They have their choice of who they could call up, basically.
Right.
There is also the looming possibility, another thing we can get into tonight and throughout the rest of the week. Alex Bump. Tomorrow, Western Michigan faces off with Denver. It is tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is Thursday. I've been off on my days all week with Monday off and travel and everything.
The Bump Booyam Bowl.
Yeah, the Bump v. Booyam. The Frozen Four tomorrow. They have the early game at 5 p.m. If Western Michigan is to lose that game, and listen, they could win. Also, Denver's really freaking good.
Yeah, I would say Denver is probably the favorite.
I would have to guess
defending
Denver.
national champion. Definitely, as we talked about, I think it was either earlier this week or late last week, Denver is one of the blue bloods in college hockey. Western Michigan very much is not. So I would assume Denver is the favorite in that game.
It gives you the potential to be adding Alex Bump to this group maybe as soon as this weekend back-to-back.
It's possible. You know, we talked about it a little bit before the show that it's not quite as simple as the minute he loses, they're going to get him in a Flyers uniform. Number one, they still have to sign a contract. Now, do I suspect a contract has been discussed between both sides in anticipation of when he loses? Yeah, I do. Seems likely that they've, you know, they at least have the general parameters. It's not like there's a ton of things you can adjust in an entry level contract anyway. A lot of it is just based on his age and the CBA. But I suspect they've talked about it, but you still have to, you know, dot the I's, cross the T's. That takes a little bit of time. Then you have to get him from St. Louis, this is where he is now, to Philadelphia. Maybe he's going to want to go back home for a little bit, get his stuff before he pops into Philadelphia. It's possible that they're not just going to want to ship him right from St. Louis directly to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They also might want to get him into a practice. And the Flyers, while they do practice on Friday, I'm not sure if they will be able to get Alex Bump in Philadelphia in a contract in uniform in time for Friday's practice. I believe the next scheduled practice would be a morning skate on Tuesday and then probably a final practice on Wednesday. So I'm just skeptical that they'll race him into the lineup. But even if they make even if Western Michigan makes the national championship, that would be Saturday night, you told me? It's a Saturday night game?
Saturday night, 7:30. So, like, even if they get in and, like, lose, I guess maybe, like, what are you going to bring him in for Sunday? You're going to bring him in for Tuesday. So if they get to the national championship,
hey, here, let me put it this way.
It's probably only Thursday, the final game of the year.
Maybe Tuesday.
Yeah.
Look, my thought is, hey, if they lose on Thursday, maybe you can get him in for Sunday. Definitely get him in for Tuesday. If they get to the national championship game, if they win, I hope Alex Bump is getting drunk.
Yeah.
If they lose, I also hope Alex Bump is getting drunk.
That's a fair point.
It's just happy drunk or sad drunk.
And I'm just making sure. Yep. He is an American citizen.
No visa issues.
So no visa issues. I realize he plays, but, like, I don't know. Like, college is different than like being a professional. So who knows?
But I'm just
American citizen, so that won't be an issue.
One way or the other, I want him either celebrating with his teammates after they win or commiserating with his teammates after they lose. I don't want him being like, all right, guys, peace, I'm off to Philly. Like, give him a 24-hour period to digest whatever happened before we race him into a Flyers uniform.
But we can get more into the potential Bump situation once it's a little more clear. Let's talk about goalies, Charlie, because tonight it's the Cola show.
It's always goalies.
That's right. The Cola,
always has been.
The Cola saga. Takes yet another turn to the world's most famous train station. He is starting for the Flyers tonight. It'll be his first NHL game since January 2nd when he stopped only 22 of 26 against Vegas.
I really didn't remember that it was that long. I guess I thought he got in a game more recently than that. That's wild that he hasn't played since the beginning of January in the NHL.
Yeah, and because, like, he's had some call-ups and he's been sent down, but, like, never actually got back into another game.
Games, yeah.
Now, NHL stats this year, they look pretty freaking bad. 870 save percentage, goals against around 3.5. He was starting to show maybe some signs of life in the AHL after his most recent, or prior to his most recent call-up. 5 AHL games in March. He went 3-2-0 with a 902. And, you know, an 884 overall in the AHL, so a vast improvement from what he had done before that. But this is just another one of those weird Yeah, we're gonna play a guy for the first time after he hasn't been in a while because he's been up for a few weeks now, right? Like 2 weeks, and hasn't gotten into a game.
He
and
got
now
called up right before Torts got fired. I suspect that was linked.
Charlie, I would never accuse the Flyers of purposefully tanking. We know that they are philosophically opposed to that.
They do say that.
However, putting him into this game, I realize like he is a prospect. He is here. He's played a little in the NHL. You've sent him down and stuff. You've promised him at a certain point, obviously, some sort of NHL action this season.
Sure.
But like, you're eliminated. I get it. But this is as close to tanking as you can get, no?
Well, I do think that is probably part of it. I don't think it's as egregious as maybe you're presenting it, because to me this falls into the bucket of the kind of tanking that will be viewed as acceptable by people in the game, including Flyers players. Because like when you are eliminated, when you have no chance at the playoffs, it is generally speaking accepted to get looks at younger guys.
Absolutely.
That is part of it. There's a reason why like no one was crying foul that Carson Bjarnason was in the game. You get looks at young guys. One of the Flyers' young guys happens to be one of their goalies.
Yeah.
Kolosov obviously has had the Kola saga. There's that whole thing. So he's been up with the team, whatever. I think the Flyers are doing this with full knowledge that Aleksei Kolosov is more likely than their other two options to play poorly in this game. And I do think that probably plays into it. But it also is driven by the fact that he's a young guy who we want to get some NHL experience because he plausibly could be part of our future. So, like, this is, while I do agree it probably plays into it to a degree, I don't think this is as, like, go to Travis Konecny and say you're not playing the rest of the season level of egregious that I do think would rock the boat. This, to me, is like, yeah, the players probably know on some level, like, yeah, Kolosov probably gives us, you know, a lesser chance to win the game than definitely Ersson and probably Fedotov too. But you look at it as a player as, yeah, they got to get looks at young guys. That's part of it, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is like some grand conspiracy here. It's just funny.
It's definitely part of it, I'm sure.
Certainly.
Yeah, you're playing a guy who's probably worse than guys who you could otherwise play.
But that's what you do when you're rebuilding and eliminated. Like, you do look at young guys, and it just looks funnier when it's the goaltender
because they have an outsized impact on
like
games.
We always say, yes, the outsized impact. Like, you put in a goalie like this. Now, listen, Ivan Fedotov, not exactly setting the world on fire either.
Neither is Ersson.
No. If you were to call him, like if Fedotov had spent considerable time in the AHL and then you bring in the 29-year-old rookie with 5 games left, that's a little like, what are we doing here?
Right.
This, though, listen, he's a prospect. Yeah. This is what you do in this situation. It's the same as the Blackhawks bringing up, Levshinov. But it's just funny because it's a goalie and you go, oh, 870, huh? Okay. Let's give that a look.
It's also a goalie that we've seen struggle at the NHL level, which makes it different than, say, you know, let's say let's imagine a world where Aleksei Kolosov was not involved in drama and he spent the entire season developing in the AHL and not getting called up and sent down and called up and sent down and refusing to come over. And let's say that he slowly got better as the AHL season went down. And now he's finally getting his shot to play in the NHL. I don't think we would be saying like, man, this is a tanking move. It would be, hey, it's exciting. We're getting to see this young goalie with upside. But because of the way the season played out, we have already established our pre-existing belief that like Kolosov stinks, or at least this undeveloped version of Kolosov stinks, which is why we're talking about tanking. Was it part of it? Sure. I'm sure the management would like to lose some games. But I do think that it's a little bit more of like, let's get a look at the young guy. Sure. He hasn't played since early January, as you mentioned.
Listen, I'm all for losing games. What's up, Kelly Hinkle, in the comments? I'm all for losing games, and I think a lot of people out there are as well. So let's get a like. Let's get likes for Kolosov. Yeah. Only 34 right now. We got to get to at least 100. I realize it's pregame. We don't have the same audience as we do for our other shows. But come on, 100. There's got to be 100 people watching right now. Come on. Yeah. Give us some likes. Let's get one of them like spikes going.
Let's do it.
A little bit more goalie news today that I just wanted to run by it. We can do, again, more of this in postgame. But first of all, the Ivan Fedotov Masterton nomination became official. We know the Masterton Award dedication to hockey, your
perseverance,
your great and/or tragic story to get to where you are. A pretty obvious nomination here for Ivan Fedotov. Everything he's been through, like I've said all along. Listen, it doesn't look like he's going to be very good. But if his movie ends like that game he gets into last season, what was it, against Montreal, I think?
The Islanders.
The Islanders.
Yes.
Like, if that's it, if that's the end of the movie's really freaking good. Like, that's an excellent film, and now he's a nominee for this. You wrote a little piece about Fedotov. Check it out at allphly.com. If you're not a diehard, become one.
Hey, they could still make a movie about him. Like, that movie with Dennis Quaid, the rookie, like, what they don't tell you is that he stunk. If you look at his numbers as a relief pitcher for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays at the time, they ain't good, but he made it. And he got a movie made, a Disney movie made after him. So, hey, never know.
Listen, Ivan Fedotov, I think his movie's already better than Invincible. Personally.
Ooh, are you an Invincible hater?
I am. Disney can't make a movie about the Eagles. Are you a freaking eagle? No one would ever say that.
True.
A kindergartner would say the F word. I'm sorry, you can't say that.
You can't make a Philadelphia movie without lots of profanity.
Also, a dude who's like this high played a professional NFL player. Like, okay, sure. Anyway,
he's like the Boston guy.
Yes, exactly. Mr. Freak, like, he is. It's Ben Affleck, him, and Dunkin' Donuts. That's Boston.
That's Boston.
Anyway. That's the Fedotov news. That is cool. Also saw a little piece of info here from John Bailey today that Bjarnason could be joining the organization soon. Not sure if he'll play yet or not. It sounds like he might be a little banged up, so maybe he gets into a game for Lehigh. Maybe he gets into an ECHL game. But probably not. But still, he's coming over, turning pro.
We knew that. I believe Brent Flair told me that in February when I did my interview series with him after our top 20 prospects list, that the plan was to get Bjarnason over to Lehigh Valley, if anything, just to be with the team for the end of the season and into the playoffs, I guess. That's cool. They're very high on Bjarnason. He had a good season for the Brandon Wheat Kings. They were not very good this year. He was for most of the season. Pretty darn good goalie for them. I'm excited with Bjarnason. I want to see what he can do under the tutelage of NHL or former NHLers, AHL caliber coaches,
professional
coaching. The professional player development staff. I want to see that because he is still very raw, but the talent is there. We've seen it at times. We saw it, I think, the start of this season at training camp, in the rookie games.
He was really impressive early in camp, at the rookie game and everything. Better than I expected based on what I had seen prior. So that's cool. We'll see him.
They believe that give him 2 or 3 years, under our watch, he will, the stratosphere, sky's the limit. That's their view, and we'll see if they're right. But he's an exciting guy to mold, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how it goes. Maybe it is a longer term project with him, and we'll see what his ceiling is. I do wonder, however, if he goes, you have to play me in the NHL or I'm going home. I wonder what happens there. It's just different because this is, he's a North American.
He's already signed his contract, so yeah.
Well, so had Kolosov.
I wouldn't worry about that with Bjarnason.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. All right, let's get to the bets. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, just one tonight, and we're going to take the goal total over. It was 5.5, minus 120 a little while ago, prior to the Flyers announcing who their starting goaltender was. Right before we went live, I checked. Now that Kolosov is the announced starter, the number is over 6 at minus 105. I still like it. Both goalies have goals against over 3. It's kind of stat padding time for both teams. The Rangers already don't play great defense. John Quick in net for the Rangers, not having the same kind of year that he had for them last season, sub 900 save percentage. And while he has amazing career numbers against the Flyers, his only appearance against them as a Ranger, came last season. He gave up 4 goals. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. But that's what we're going to go with. Goals over. I got it at 5.5 minus 120. It's 6, 105. Listen, getting to 7, that is a bigger number. So you got to think about it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not expecting. I am not expecting this to be a playoff style game, Charlie. I think it could be a little bit more wide open.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about these Rangers because, my God, the door has been open for them all season. And a year after winning the President's Trophy, it has just gone to hell for them real freaking quick.
It looks like they're going to miss the playoffs.
It
sure
certainly
does.
looks like they are going to miss the playoffs. They are 8 points behind Montreal. They do have 1 game in hand on the Habs, but it is looking ugly for them.
It's
and
bleak.
now
It's bleak.
While I guess they still have a chance, like if I am Chris Drury, and listen, who knows how much longer he's going to have the job.
He probably shouldn't have it much longer.
Yes, I mean, they're going to get rid of Laviolette, but I don't know how you don't blame this. There's enough to go around, but like, I don't know how you don't blame it directly on the guy who put a dude with a no trade on waivers so they can move him, threatened another guy with waivers so they could trade him, and everyone quit, and the team's just no good.
I would guess
you didn't replace them.
I would guess the toxicity there goes well beyond
it's also
Peter Laviolette.
Yes, it's Dolan, it's Drury, it's all of them.
I think it's most.
But if I am Drury, I'm thinking, yeah, I guess we could try to still make the playoffs. Also, they have a top 13 protected first-round pick that they traded, I believe, in the JT Miller deal.
Yes.
If it's 14 or higher, it goes to the Penguins. For a number of reasons, I would like to see the Rangers keep that pick and not give the Penguins another.
So here's the interesting topic of conversation I've heard about that. It's a fascinating conversation because there has been some theorizing that the Rangers might give the Penguins the pick anyway, just to avoid the possibility. Because if they don't give him the pick this year, it
rolls to next year.
And not only does it roll next year's is unprotected.
Yeah.
And the fear on their part would be, what if we keep the pick and then we end up winning the lottery next year and then hand the Penguins Gavin McKenna? So the idea was, maybe it's better if we end up with a 13th pick, maybe just give it to them just so we are sure that we keep our pick in the better draft next year.
I wonder if are the Penguins allowed to be like, nah?
I don't think so.
That's not what the deal says.
No, I think
it's top 13 protected.
as long as there's a clause in the deal, and I believe there is, the trading team can decide to give up the pick if they want to.
Because like the Columbus second rounder last year that they could have given the Flyers, it was an either or situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's this year or next year.
Yes.
This isn't a choice, but I guess it still can be.
They could decide it doesn't matter to us that it's protected. We'll give it to you.
Like,
just to be dumb.
And especially if you're looking at your team right now and, hey, outside of Artemi Panarin, everyone stinks. Like,
it really,
if we're gonna move on,
exactly.
Maybe we're gonna intentionally, like, they weren't trying to be bad this year, and they're like right now, I think, on the cusp of 13. Last I looked at Tankathon, they were at 13. So okay.
If I had to guess, I would think the Rangers are not going to tank next year.
You would think.
They have too much talent to be like, nah, let's tank for McKenna. But if they're on the fence about whether they can actually fix this in one offseason,
they're just so old. Like, that's really the thing. Like, you look at Panarin and 34 goals, 83 points. I mean, it's not an MVP year, but he's still pretty freaking good. Yeah. Well over a point a game.
Agreed.
And then their second leading scorer is Adam Fox with 56 points. Like, that is such a wide disparity there. You look at the number of guys who had down years, and maybe they're just down years, but when you start having down years in your 30s, you look at a team and go, what, are they going to be better next year? Why? It's possible, but why? They probably should just kind of start over, but they did just do that.
They did just
do that. Now, it obviously gets upended.
And they do have a lot of young guys, too. I mean, one of the big reasons why this has been an underwhelming year for them is a lot of their young guys didn't take the kind of steps they wanted them to. Keandre Miller has underwhelmed this season. Alexis Lafreniere, who they signed to a big contract. They expected him to build off of last year. He's stagnated or even regressed. So they do have younger guys. They have Perreault, who will be almost certainly a full-timer next year. He's not playing in tonight's game, I believe.
Yep.
But he will be on the team, I would assume. if not to start next season, he'll be up at some point. They do have guys coming. So I don't think they're necessarily in a position where their system is barren, where they don't have anybody coming, but maybe they decide it's like take one step back next year to take 2 steps forward. I don't know. They can still make the playoffs. And if you are someone who is hoping the Flyers go into full tank mode and lose the rest of their games, this is a team that is, at least should be, very motivated to win this game because, look, Montreal is not an amazing team. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they go into a late season swoon. It could happen. And the Rangers, if they win a few games in a row, suddenly they do, as you said, they have the game in hand. It's not over. It's probably over, but it's not over. And their players should operate under the assumption that a miracle could happen, and we don't want to be the ones that eliminate ourselves. Let's force the Canadians to eliminate us.
Yeah. Charlie, one more thing here before we get to the end of the show. Hit the like button, by the way. We're at 90. I want to get to 100.
Yeah, 10
we have
more.
4
We can
minutes.
do it.
Come on.
We can do it.
91. There you go. Way to go, everybody. I just want to ask your thoughts on this freaking schedule that the team has played.
The Flyers?
The Flyers had the most condensed schedule seemingly all year. Then they have like a 4 or 5 day break and then a 3-day break. Now listen, the games played disparity has really shortened throughout the league. Everyone is between 77 and 79 games played, so at least there's not teams with like 6 more games than other teams at this point.
Fair.
But the Flyers have played 77 games. Nobody has played fewer. It is insane the way that this schedule is just like nonstop. All right, last 3 weeks, take some time. And then, of course, a back-to-back this weekend, because why not? What the hell is this schedule? Like, has anyone else had this sort of fluctuation? I guess maybe Buffalo, because they started the year so early. Like, how does Buffalo start the year a week before everyone, and they're one of the teams with 77 games, not 17? I don't know. I'm just perplexed by this schedule and the way it's unfolded.
Bill, I don't know why you're asking me.
I
don't know.
I know you
don't
know.
make the schedule.
I know you don't know. I just want to know if you're as perplexed by it as I am.
I mean, I wouldn't use the word perplexed. I would use the word exasperated, because I'm the one who has to travel around following the team and covering the team with this insane schedule.
It's just crazy to me. It's fun that we, like your last road trip after this whole year, it was like, yeah, we're going to take a little Montreal vacation for a few days. At least they gave you that.
That
like
is true.
Your last road trip wasn't like get in, get the hell out.
Yeah.
We got to have some fun.
Got a full extra day in Montreal after the game. That was nice.
So at least that was thoughtful of the league. If that's what they were thinking, give Flyers fans a little treat.
You got to watch Alexander Ovechkin breaking the goal record at Ziggy's Pub, which was great.
We did. It was a really good time. Highly recommend Montreal. And I did want to shout out Philly Sports Trips for the awesome time that we had there. It was really great. They put on a hell of an event. Brought out Brian Prop, the pregame party, the brunch the next day. It was all top notch.
It was really
good. The bus travel to and from the airport, quite luxurious, considering like there was several different flights, so there weren't a ton of people at the airport all at once. It's like, here's a luxury bus. Like, oh, outstanding. Thank you. Really appreciate it. But really want to shout out Philly Sports Trips. But we have another event here at PHLY coming up for you, and it's our draft lottery party. It is going to be right here at the PHLY studio. Make sure you check it out at allphly.com under the events section. We don't know the date of the draft lottery yet. Probably
it's not available.
Probably May 6th or 7th, somewhere in that range. But whatever day it is, we're going to be hosting a little get-together here. We're going to have a live reaction show, so make sure you join us. Join us here for that. Check out allphly.com for more details.
Also, William, we got to 119 likes.
Oh, there we go. Way to go, everybody.
Pretty
That's
good.
what I like to see. All
Very
right,
impressed.
And
good work,
one
crowd.
super chat before we get out of here from Gary B.
Gary B.
Gary B says, Bill Charlie, let's tank this S up the last 5 games. Let's go Flyers. Listen, like King Kong Bundy used to say, I need 5. Give me 5 Kolosov starts. Absolutely.
I'm curious how many starts they're going to give him.
4 minimum.
I don't think they're going to give him that many, but I wouldn't be shocked if they give him more than 1.
Here's the thing. Like, if the other goalies had been at least decent or not terrible this year, you really couldn't justify giving him more than 1 as like, okay, here you go. Here's 1. But considering how bad they've been, like, is Sam Ersson gonna demand another game? Like, no, buddy, you're in the 880s. You don't get to demand anything. You're lucky you're on the team next year.
That's very true.
All right, and that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers pregame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be back with you with post-game. Make sure you're following us right here on YouTube so you never miss a live show. Hit that reminder bell. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. This is where I do all my in-game tweeting. And follow the podcast. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. I'm Bill. That's Charlie. Roll on Tank.
We all silly like the mayor.